views expressed by J. Michael McCoy are the views of the hosts and guests of Max World Live, and not necessarily the views of Webcast One Live, its staff, its management, the cleaning crew, Dave the electric guy, the guy who cleans the skywalk, the woman who brought in the cookies, the management staff of Hubble Real Estate, the parking lot attendant at Keck Parking, the wait staff over at Miss Kitty's, the coffee crew at Frederick's, the man in the street corner willing to work for food, Rob Spearman, Max Crab, or anyone else of sound mind. Should you be offended, provoked, intimidated, shocked, confused, or just made to think independently, log on to MaxWorldLive.com right now. It's your voice we want to hear in Max World. And now, live from the palatial studios of Webcast One Live, your host, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, good afternoon. It is the 25th day of November in the Lord's year 2014. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and we appreciate you checking in with us today on the radio as well as the webcast. And this is going to be an interesting show. We have a great guest coming up. Craig Vos is his name, and he's got a brand new show starting on 99.3, the Truth Network, called Victory Over Socialism. And it is 5:30 on Saturdays. And we'll talk to Craig a little bit more. And if Craig wants to participate in the first part of Tom's and my show today, that's you're welcome to do that, Craig. But I do want you to know that the opinions that we're about to share, and this is one of those times I say this in a serious note, are not the opinions of Ryan, who's our producer, and they're not the opinions of the Truth Network, and they're not the opinions of any other host on this radio station. Because for the next few minutes, we're going to talk about Ferguson, Missouri, and you folks might be a little bit surprised at how blunt and candorish Tom and I are. Because that's just kind of the way we roll. That's kind of a hip term, isn't it?
I guess so.
When you're someone like myself, I can't speak for Tom, but I think we're the same this way. We're very independent men. We work for ourselves, so we don't have to answer to a boss. We answer to God. We answer to our Lord and Savior, Jesus. We answer to our wives, but we don't answer to a corporate boss. And so we don't have to edit or whatever word we would use to for our speech and our opinions. Of course, you'll never hear vulgar language from us, blasphemy or swear words. But I got to tell you, I went to bed early last night simply because I knew that if I stayed up and began to watch this, that I'd be locked in. It'd be like Iraq War all over again. I don't know if you remember the first time that Papa Bush went in.
Oh, yes.
And I watched that thing for days.
Desert Storm, sure.
Yeah. And so I got up this morning at 4 o'clock thinking that all I was going to get was reruns, because that's usually what they run in the overnights, reruns of old news shows and stuff. No, they were live. They were live in Ferguson, they were live in Washington, they were live in Philadelphia, they were live in Chicago, and they were live in New York, as well as Ferguson, Missouri. And I had a Bible study at 7 o'clock this morning, and after the Bible study of 50 guys, I had 2 different men come up to me and say, "What's wrong with you today?" "Why?" "Well, you were so quiet today, and we'd look over at you, and you were wrinkling." And it was like you weren't paying attention, because I'm really focused in Bible studies. And I realized how sad. And that's the only word I can use. I could use angry if I wanted to, or mad. But my true emotion is I'm just sad about what in the heck is going on in this country. And we can't say in Ferguson. It was in 5 major cities, plus Ferguson, Missouri.
Right.
And Ferguson is actually St. Louis. So that's 6 major cities.
Right.
That people decided to come out and riot.
It wasn't spontaneous.
No.
Let's not kid ourselves with any spontaneity.
No. And I'm sitting there watching CNN, and oh, what a difference CNN and Fox News is. If you really want to see differences in coverages, and you really want to see who leans right, because Fox leans right, and you want to see who leans left, CNN leans left. Yes, that's really true, Democrats. You really do lean left on CNN. If you want to see that, you watch them after a political debate. But I couldn't believe it this morning.
Or the lead up to it. I'm told, I don't watch CNN, I got to be honest, but I was told that CNN is, and the similar news networks are culpable in much of this.
Oh, yeah.
That they have fed into it, that they have demonstrated a rationale and a justification for the riots and the anger. I heard it afterwards, Mac. I watched this thing for quite a while. I watched the
last night?
the district attorney come out and make his case. I watched Obama come out and stumble around through this thing. The community organizer-in-chief and his minions have also done what they can to rationalize this, to justify it, to lay the fertile groundwork. He tells Al Sharpton to stay the course. The biggest...
The president of the United States
Yes, he told Al,
I'm not very Sharpton
to
stay the course.
To stay the course. Al Sharpton, who used to be known as the Fat Rat because he was twice his size and had turned into an FBI informant on a botched drug deal.
And owes the IRS $4.3 million.
Yes. So that's the respect. He has been at the White House multiple times, and the president told him formally to stay the course, which meant to continue to try to feed fuel onto this fire. I can't believe when I'm hearing, even on Fox, by some of the guests that come on there, Mac, that pretend to be informed and sharp, and it's like, don't confuse me with any of these facts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear about witness testimonies. I don't want to hear about forensic evidence, how the two of them coincide, and how they fit very well into the official report by this officer. None of that matters. I've already got my emotions whooped up. Again, Obama has done this a couple of times. He did it with the professor that was a friend of his, where he said the cops acted stupidly.
Yes.
And then he had to do a beer after.
Summit, yep.
Yeah, beer summit. Or Trayvon Martin, who looks like if I'd had a son, he would look like Trayvon. He's doing it again. And Eric Holder is his main accomplice, in my judgment. And these people, they just don't seem to care. I think that in essence, the prosecutor and the way that they've handled it. Now, you've got a Democrat governor down in Missouri. The prosecutor's a Democrat. So these are not people that you can easily tar as Tea Partiers.
No.
They laid it out. They took their time. They laid it out in front of a 9 white, 3 black grand jury.
Which, by the way, is the percentage of that county.
Well, and Obama said last night, Mac, you may not have heard it, but he in essence was recommending that police forces reflect the racial code of the communities that they serve. So if you've got 70% minority, you're automatically supposed to have 70% police force, in essence. But I listen to these things, and I cannot believe how they just reject all the evidence.
Yeah.
To me, the prosecutor, he laid it out. Did you hear some of his commentary?
No.
Where he was laying it out, and he laid all the evidence out for him after the fact, and he went through a summation of what happened,
the prosecutor. Yes, I heard that. I thought you meant Obama.
Yeah, no. He laid it all out, how the forensics backed up the officer's story, that he was assaulted in the cop car when he had asked these two suspects that matched the description to come over to the sidewalk. They refused. They were telling him what he could do with himself. They were very defiant, continued to walk down the middle of the road. He blocked off their path, and they had a further altercation, and he was punched in his police car. The gun was apparently tried to be wrestled away from him, went off twice, one of them hitting him in the thumb. Forensics bore it out because it had the DNA and the blood on the officer in the car. He ran away, rejected the calls to stop. He was lucky he wasn't shot in the back, because after you assault an officer and you're a suspect in a crime like this, you could easily have been shot in the back. But no, he turned and charged the officer. Earlier had said that he wasn't man enough to shoot him. Then he charged him, thinking that he could, and he did. The cop was 100 pounds under what he was. This was a big young man, and he was going to beat the cop senseless if he got his hands on him. And he was told to stop. He didn't stop, and so the cop emptied his gun, which is his train to do.
And forensics show that he was running towards him and leaned over frontwards.
Like a bull charge.
Not as if you're going to, give yourself up.
The initial testimony by the so-called eyewitnesses was he was shot in the back, or he was on his knees with his hands up.
Yep.
And the 3 autopsies that were performed, one of Eric Holder didn't like the results, so he offered up demanded another autopsy. They all showed that the last 3 bullets were fired as he was bending down. This was an unfortunate situation. You hate to see somebody killed, but the officer, now, if there was enough evidence, the grand jury could have easily passed this off.
Absolutely.
And could have passed it off to a jury and said, oh, here, we've done our duty. You guys actually, on a higher level, now have to either convict or release him.
And I'm not so sure if I had been, because these people all live in this county.
Right.
I'm not so sure, and just call me chicken, okay? But I'm not so sure that if I had been on that jury, I wouldn't have chose that.
It had been the easy way out, Mac, and I
Let's just let the cop go on trial.
I respect every one of those people on that grand jury for sitting through all those hours of testimony and evidence and coming up with that. Now, but we've got the media, other than Fox and Talk Radio, are all in the bag. They're all looking. What did the Des Moines Register do this morning? What did you open up your Des Moines Register and see?
I don't know.
Did you open up the paper
I did,
today?
but I don't remember what it said.
What was on the front page? Do you remember who wrote the article about Ferguson?
Reka Basu.
Yeah. Now, not a fact-gathering reporter, not even something from AP or something. We've got our biggest partisan hack in the city of Des Moines, at least associated with the Des Moines Register, writing the front page article about Ferguson, and they wonder why their readership declines. I saw a piece last week, Mac, that showed that a few years ago we had over 30% of households took a daily paper. It's down nationwide now to about 17%. I'll bet the fall off for the Des Moines Register is even worse, because that's the kind of reporting we've come to expect from the Des Moines Register.
Craig, if you have any opinion, you feel free to step in here at any time. Frank's on the phone. He wants to give us a shout out, but Craig, I'll let you talk first if you want to.
Oh, by the way, Stu Bassman, who we talked about last week, sent me his next effort, and he was taking the Register to task, which they probably won't print, but for the same thing. Who is Reka Basu to write this front page story for you?
She's a columnist.
Craig. You mentioned Reka Basu. I'm surprised you guys still subscribe to the Des Moines Register. I believe one of my sayings is, shut off the TV, cancel your subscriptions to newspapers, and tune in to talk radio. But to me, that you mentioned that, the feminist media plays such a large role in influencing the underclass. It's really just a small percentage of people who are rioting. Most of the people in Ferguson, they're not rioting, but definitely the feminist media is supporting the underclass no matter what the facts are. The media is always there to support the underclass.
Yeah, and I was watching this morning, and I try to stay away from terms like black or white or female or male, because I don't think it matters. But if you don't add that into this, you're not following the plan of the leftist media, because it was always a black teenage boy who was 300 and some pounds, and he was 18 years old. And last time I looked, an 18-year-old was an adult.
Yep. Can vote, can be inducted into the military, is treated as an adult in our criminal justice system.
So this woman who works for the St. Louis America, I think, so I'm assuming that's a newspaper, said journalist, black woman, sat there and talked about how he was raising his hands to surrender, and the cop murdered him. And the journalist, and this was even on CNN, the journalist said, now, wait a minute, those aren't the facts. And this woman used my pet peeve. She said, that's my perception, and perception is reality. All right, Frank, you hang on the phone. We're going to get back to you. We're going to take our first break. We'll continue this conversation on Ferguson. I'm sure that Frank has some wonderful things to add. And then as the show continues, we're going to introduce you to Craig Vos and the new show that he's got coming on to KTIA called Victory Over Socialism, 5:30 in the afternoon on Saturdays, right here on the Truth Network, 99.3 FM. And this program, Max World Live, is powered by webcast1live.com. Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places, especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart, and it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
All right, 21 after 3 o'clock on this 25th day of November. And I think this is one of those shows that somebody needs to put in a time capsule, a virtual time capsule, because one day we're going to look back on this day as the day after what is now being called in the media the verdict of the shooting down in Ferguson, Missouri, the now justified shooting. Okay, we have to say that. It was a justified shooting. A grand jury of 12 people found the officer completely okay with what he did, found nothing illegal, no crime was committed. The forensics details and facts would clearly show you that. If you add the officer's testimony, it backs up the forensic evidence. Now, realize how I'm walking down this road with you. I'm starting with the forensic evidence because that's the most important thing. So what the forensic evidence said was that the officer had been beaten in the head, that the gun had been fired once in the car, and that this young man, Michael Brown's DNA, i.e. blood, was found on the cop, in the car, and on the gun. Then the forensics evidence came back and said, and when this man was shot, he was charging, moving towards the officer, and they can tell that by the way the bullets entered and exited the body. They can you've seen that where they take those skinny rods and they put where the bullet went, and then they can tell the projection. And yet we have a group of people. I call them people who have they are low information voters. They are people who have a victim mentality, have an entitlement mentality. As Craig will share with us later, they have a feminist media backing them up. And yet on CNN, cable news around the world, cable news network, at 5:30 a.m. New York time, this journalist from a top 10 city in America said, those facts don't matter. My perception says that the cop was wrong, and my perception is reality. Now, that's just messed up. Facts don't matter. It's what I perceive.
That's right.
So forget law. Forget a grand jury. Why even have him there? I mean, the first 3 eyewitnesses they interviewed said he was down on the ground when he was shot. And yet forensics didn't back that up at all.
No.
Let's go to the phone where Frank is standing by. Frank, why doesn't it surprise me that you'd call in today?
Well, I'm livid. I don't know about you guys, but I thought I was in the 1960s watching the Keystone Cops.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, first off, there's a couple of really dangerous things that went on here. One was the timing. Why was this announcement made when the announcement come out at 1:30 and it was postponed till 8 o'clock at night? They were inviting this mayhem. Why wasn't the announcement made at 8 o'clock in the morning when they could hopefully diffuse this situation? But the other point was this tortured press conference. The guy gave a good explanation, but the problem is if your child doesn't like no as an answer, they're not going to like the explanation of no any better.
Right.
And then fourth here, if you're a young black man or a young black boy or girl, and you're taught from the time that you're little that the justice system has a fundamental bias against you, there's no hope. Facts were never going to matter in this case. And where was this lauded protection to protect the community? And for the Bradshaws out there in the world that want to do their best to take your guns away, there's a lesson here. You're foolish in this world if you don't want to own a gun and you think that the law is going to protect your life or your property. They should have had a strict curfew down there. They should have limited the media to some sort of pool feed like they do in the military, to where they don't have a bunch of freelance reporters running around there, Anderson Cooper, Jake Tapper, etc. And then any rock, bottle, or Molotov cocktail that is thrown should be met with deadly force. They need to get control of this situation.
Why wasn't the National Guard called in?
Well, it was, but it wasn't in evidence. And also, did you guys hear that 2 of the new Black Panthers were arrested days ago trying to purchase explosives so they could make pipe bombs for Ferguson? Did you guys heard that?
No, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, it was.
Tom, they arrested, according to reports last night, 29 people. They should have arrested 2,900 people.
All right, but here, Frank, if you put this on the other foot, now you got the left reporting on this. If you had, say, the Tea Party had some people out trying to buy explosives for pipe bombs, don't you think that would have been reported coast to coast? It was not. It was kind of covered up. Like I say, this is a contrived situation, and these people are just looking for an excuse to go off. And again, we don't have an administration trying to tamp it down.
Well, they've been reporting on in the weeks prior to this of the people coming in and, quote, they were bussed in, according to some reports. Use the word bust.
Mm-hmm.
They knew these outside agitators were coming in.
Right.
Now, you make this announcement at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when they know what the announcement's going to be, and they say, well, we're going to postpone this till 8 o'clock. That gives 3 or 4 hours for these agitators to gather up, get their forces marshaled, get out there to do this. There was no explanation there was no explanation by the prosecutor that was going to make these people feel any better about this. They were determined. They were probably going to burn this city down if they indicted the guy or they did not indict
Well,
them.
they originally said, Frank, that they were talking about 5 o'clock for an announcement. Then they postponed it to 8. Now, that pushes it on into prime time for the networks coast to coast. 5 o'clock is too early to make prime time for the network, so they had to push it back.
They used the excuse of clearing. They used the excuse of clearing out the schools and traffic, which is that's a reasonably good excuse. But postpone school the next day. Get people out there. Get the city, state, and federal authorities out there with bullhorns, saying, "Look, there's ways to protest this. There's ways to go about it. We're not going to have this community in an uproar." Diffuse the situation in the middle of the day, and don't let that congregate at night, and have a strict curfew when night falls. If you're on the street, you're looking for trouble, and you're going to be subject to arrest.
Right.
All right, Frank, Frank, don't hang up. I want you to stay where you're at. Craig, do you have anything you want to add here? Okay. I talked to somebody today that I dearly care about and I trust. She is a retired Superior Court justice, and yes, she is a liberal. And I just said, I just want to hear your take on this. And she told me an interesting story. There's a book called Slavery by Another Name. Slavery by Another Name, written by a white guy. And he went back and looked at what it was like for an African American in the United States after slavery ended. Mm-hmm. And this book points out in detail, facts, sheets, paper trails, that what would happen, especially in the South. See, we didn't have prisons in this country until the 20th century. Before that, everybody had local jails. Mm-hmm. So they would pick up a young black man on whatever perceived charge there was. I'm not saying it was trumped up or whether it was real, but whatever it was, he'd get hauled before a judge, and they've got countless paper trails on this. I mean, like thousands. And the good old boy white judge would say, well, young man, you got a $600 fine. Now, I'm using $600 as the way it would have been in 1900. Today, that'd be what, $6,000 fine?
Probably more.
$18,000? All right. So the man couldn't pay the fine, so he put him in jail. Mm-hmm. And then some farmer would come up, or business owner would come up and say, well, I'll pay that fine, Judge, but I want you to do is change the sentence to 1 year labor under me.
So indentured servitude then.
Right.
Which is what a lot of whites came into this country for in the first place, and their lot was pretty much like the slaves, indentured servitude. The difference was that they had a certain period of time, 6-7 years where they had to work it off, but they were working right alongside of the slaves at that point. So you're saying they were moving these people at that time back into a position of indentured servitude.
Yeah. And this went on, it's documented, this went on until the late 60s and early 70s.
Really?
Of 1900.
Even the mid-20th century.
Yeah, especially down in the South where they didn't have major prisons. And a lot of times this man uncovered documentation that showed that the judge and the farmer were in cahoots. And there are people who knew of my uncle, my great-uncle, my grandfather, who would disappear for 20 years and then come back and say, this is what happened to me.
Okay.
This is the mindset, and Frank mentioned it in his talk. Mm-hmm. This is the mindset. This is their worldview, that cops cannot be trusted, that policemen are not there to help them, to take care of them. Now, they don't give them into indentured slaves anymore. Right. Now what they do is they say that they change the laws, and so if a white man has marijuana, it's blank, but if a black man has a drug that he's more likely to use, then it's a lot higher sentence. This person said to me, and she said, I'm not going to try to take sides, but I want you to know that this is their mindset. Mm-hmm. This is their mindset. And, Tom, it would be kind of like in 50 years, 100 years, our great-grandchildren look back and say, yeah, our grandpas, our great-grandpas, man, they hated that CNN news because they were so slighted. I mean, their mindset was if it was on CNN, it was weighted to the left. That's the level of mindset that this community has.
I guess so, because, you and I, Craig, Frank, we hear these things and we're analyzing facts and we're looking at the legal system that's set up in this country, and we think what a fine system it generally is, and yet you give some examples of some of the abuses of it, and anytime you get man involved in anything, it can become corrupted and generally will become. But from the comments on some of the very sharp people that I was listening to last night, it's obvious that they don't hear and see and process the things in this particular case or in cases similar the way that we do.
They don't.
We're talking apples, and they're only hearing oranges.
Yeah, they don't want to listen to the facts.
Well, Tom and Mac, here's one point that I didn't coin and I didn't make up. It's black leaders out there, certain black leaders who are saying this, that the African American in this country's traded one plantation for another. They're now in bondage and servitude to the Democratic Party, who treats them much like Rush Limbaugh coins it the battered wife syndrome. Mm-hmm. They only pay attention to them at voting time.
Right.
They ignore them the rest of the rest of the 365 days a year in election cycles. And then, like a battered woman, they come back to them with some flowers and some candy and say, "Oh, please, will you forgive me?" And they fall in line 80 to 90% voting in block with them again. So all the economic policies that the Democrats have presented to the black communities, a failure, and the Republicans can't seem to get their message into the community to say, hey, we've got a better option over here. Look at us.
Well, and that's right. It's government. And that's the Democratic mantra Schumer presented today. Get behind more government. That's the mantra of the Democrat Party.
All right, Frank, thanks for calling in today. I'm going to let you go.
All right.
And we're looking forward to get to know Craig Vos and his new radio program, 5:30 on Saturdays here on the Truth Network, 99.3 FM. Victory over Socialism. Craig Vos is coming up next. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. I love this job, and I couldn't do it without you. Right here on the Truth Network, 99.3, powered by webcast1live.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Homs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're gonna make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
"22 minutes before the top of the hour on this 25th day of November in the Lord's year 2014. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is Max World Live with Tom Coates, produced by Ryan today. And our special guest is Craig Vos. He has a brand new radio show called Victory Over Socialism, and it airs at 5:30 on Saturday afternoons here on the Truth Network, 99.3 FM. And here is his positioning statement. Specializing in promoting honest, virtuous womanhood and manhood. His passions are feminism, politics, culture, and economics. And if you want to check out his website, is your website up?
Yes, it is.
Okay. It's Center Right America. Now, you're going to get 2 R's there, and that's okay. CENTERRIGHT, America, AMERICA, .squarespace, spelled out, SQUARESPACE.com. Tell me about your website.
Well, my name is Craig Vos, and that's Vos as in Victory Over Socialism. I don't know if everybody caught that.
I did not.
Did you catch that? Yeah,
No,
VOS,
I didn't.
Victory Over Socialism. So my website is centerrightamerica.squarespace.com. What I do on my website to promote honest, virtuous womanhood and manhood right now is I criticize feminism. And I've been criticizing feminism a lot. If nothing else, to be an honest, virtuous woman or man, what you need to do is do the opposite of feminism. To me, feminism is the opposite, is the absence of morality. Feminism is the absence of virtue.
Wow. And so when we were talking about Ferguson, and Tom brings up the feminist, what did you call it? The media?
I don't remember.
Well, it goes by a lot of different names: liberal media, mainstream media, lamestream media.
Yeah.
Michael Savage calls it the government media complex, but I call it the feminist media, because the feminists have the same attitude, and they try to teach the underclass that same attitude, and that is an attitude of we're oppressed, we're victims, life owes us a living, this is all everybody else's fault but ours. And the feminists actually teach the underclass to have that same attitude. So I blame feminism more in the feminist media than I do the underclass, because it's the feminists who have that attitude, and they are teaching the underclass, not the other way around.
All right, and when you say feminist, you don't necessarily mean the gender female.
That's right. Females are fine. Femininity is fine. All of that is just great, but it's feminist men and feminist women, and they're the ones that have a bad attitude, and they're the ones I'm criticizing. Not females, not women, because there are what I call the honest, virtuous women in this world. The right of center women, the women who have a good attitude, a good outlook on life, and count their blessings.
All right. Now, the other thing is, when you talk about the feminist movement, are you talking about the movement that we kind of steer back to, what was her name, Gloria?
Gloria Steinem.
Yeah, back in the 60s?
Right, yes. Gloria Steinem, that was what you'd call second wave feminism, to get picky about it. I cover the 3 main branches of feminism, which is radical feminism, liberal feminism, and socialist feminism. And there are hundreds of little branches off of those 3 main branches, but those are the 3 main ones.
Unpack each one of those for me and tell me the differences.
Okay, a liberal feminist is a feminist who's interested in passing legislation, litigation, regulation, and taxation to get their way. A great example of a liberal feminist is Hillary Clinton, or as I call her, over the Hillary Clinton. Have you heard of that one yet?
No, that's a good one, Craig.
I like to think
over the Hillary. Okay.
That's original. Over the Hillary Clinton. So I haven't heard anybody else say that yet.
No, I'm going to have to give you credit for that one.
Thank you. So a liberal feminist is just like it sounds. If it helps, think liberal Democrat feminist, and that will help you see them as someone who uses government, politics, and legislation to get their way.
Are they ever conservatives? Or is that an oxymoron?
It's an oxymoron. There are some women out there who say that, I believe, just to muddy the waters, such as Sarah Palin. She might say it. And Coulter, they might say that they're actually feminist women. But I do have the question you should ask to smoke out any feminist, to separate them from an honest, virtuous woman. And that is, do you believe all women are oppressed in this country? And that's actually on my website. It's what I call a challenge question. I have 3 challenge questions on my website. And the first one is, ask women you know that one simple question. Do you believe all women are oppressed in this country? If they say yes, that's a feminist. If they say, no, we aren't oppressed at all, we have it really good in this country, we are well fed and rich, we should count our blessings, then that is an honest, virtuous woman. So that's how you tell. If nothing else, that one question will do it.
And is Sarah Palin and Ann Coulter feminists, in your opinion?
No, they aren't feminists. They are intelligent, honest, virtuous, full-grown adults.
Okay. All right. So the first one is a liberal feminist.
Right.
Then you had
a socialist feminist. And an example of a socialist feminist is President Obama. And you can check, one thing I do is I analyze the Democratic Socialists of America as well as the Socialist Party USA, their platforms on the internet. And I analyze those, and those 2 groups are explicitly feminist organizations. So I have that on my website. I prove the point that feminism is liberalism is socialism. And those are the 3 main branches.
And remember very carefully as you listen to this, because I'm growing here too. I'm understanding. I'm 55 years old, and I'm understanding something I've never understood. When you use the word feminist to me, the term feminist to me, I automatically went to the female gender. But that's not the case, right?
That's right. There are a lot of male feminists. I think maybe the perfect example of the all-time feminist male is Phil Donahue, which I think is one of the very worst of the worst as far as destroying the American culture.
Phil Donahue, not Dr. Phil.
No.
All right, Phil Donahue.
You got to be a little bit older to remember the Phil Donahue show, Mac.
I'm sure you remember him.
I say you may not remember.
I do remember him. I do remember him. All right. So where did feminism come from? You said it wasn't Gloria Steinem. It was before that.
Right. Feminism is based on Marxism all the way. And feminist literature is saturated with Marxism and Marxist ideas such as oppression. So it goes all the way back to Karl Marx. And that's why one of the things they complain about the most is oppression, which is why you should ask, if nothing else, that first Craig Vos challenge question. Do you believe women are oppressed in this country? And that will give you the answer.
Now, before you said all women, is it all or just women? Because I think, do you believe women are oppressed in America? You're going to get a lot higher than if you said all.
Well, see, that's what makes feminism tricky. And that's why I have my website, because if you ask that question, there are women out there who will say, you ask, are all women oppressed? They'll say, no, just some. But then you have to ask, well, what percentage? Because a feminist woman will say, just some, just 98 to 99%.
Oh, wow, that's not some. That's a super majority.
So I'm trying to teach people how to understand feminists, how to nail them down, because they can be very slippery with the way they communicate. So ask, you can ask it either way. Do you believe women are oppressed in this country, or do you believe all women are oppressed? If they say all women are oppressed, then you know the answer. If they just say some, then you should try to nail them down as to what percentage.
All right, Craig Vos is our guest. His program on the Truth Network, 99.3 FM, is called Victory Over Socialism, VOS. Get it? Craig Vos, VOS. 5:30 p.m. Saturdays. And his positioning statement is specializing in promoting honest, virtuous womanhood and manhood. Now, here's the website. Write it down. It's easy to remember. It's just tricky. So I guess that doesn't make it easy. Well, it is easy. Center Right America. Now, you're going to write out center, and then you're going to write out right, and you're going to have two R's in the middle, and that's going to feel odd. But that's correct. Center Right America dot Squarespace, those two words, square space, like I call Thomas Square, squarespace.com. Check it out when we come back. I've got a couple questions I want to ask. If you want to ask Craig a question, 244-0077, area code 515. It's your voice I want to hear on the Truth Network, 99.3 FM, powered by webcast1live.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can give these grandkids back, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We can help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart, and it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you. We're back 10 before the top. Salem Radio Network News will certainly have some information on Ferguson. The question, now I have not seen a newscast or heard one since about 12 o'clock noon, so for 4 hours. So I don't know if there's been anything determined for tonight, if that was a one-shot deal last night. Ferguson isn't that big, folks. They keep burning down buildings at this rate. There won't be a Ferguson left. And maybe that's what these folks want. Maybe they just want to destroy their hometown.
I have to check with the formerly Fat Rat, now Skinny Rat, Al Sharpton, to see if he wants to see more buildings burned there.
Crazy. Craig Vos is our guest. Victory Over Socialism is the name of the show. It's 5:30 p.m. Saturdays, right here on the Truth Network, 99.3 FM, specializing in promoting honest, virtuous womanhood and manhood. Here's the website, centerrightamerica.squarespace.com. Now, we talked about the three kinds of feminists. You had radical, you had liberal, and what was the third?
Socialist feminism.
All right, and you told me about the first three, or the first two. What's a radical feminist?
Okay, radical feminists are, they're the real people haters. They hate womanhood and they hate manhood. To the extent that they would like to abolish womanhood, manhood, and even childhood. And if anyone out there doesn't believe that's the case, they can go to my website, centerrightamerica.squarespace.com, and there are quotes there from a socialist feminist where she explicitly states that a socialist feminist would like to abolish womanhood, manhood, and childhood.
Now, what's manhood?
What do you mean hood? What are we going to abolish here?
Well, they would like to abolish also religion, so they would like to abolish any type of virtue of manhood or womanhood.
Fatherhood, motherhood, any hood, any religion.
All of that.
Give us I mean, this is fine to talk about it in generalities. Give us a high profile, high enough so that the audience would recognize it, individual that would fit the description that you just now posed.
Okay, a radical feminist is a little bit more difficult to find someone who personifies that. I gave you an example of a liberal feminist, socialist feminist. A radical feminist, though, is probably a lesbian separatist. They don't like gender roles, and so transgendered is really popular right now in the
That's
in the media.
in this season, huh?
Yeah. Well, at least in the media, they're really doing a lot to promote that. So transgenders.
Well, I heard the outrage the other day was a transgendered individual had died in the early 30s, had been buried as a man, and yet this person had taken the visage of a woman for the last 2 years, and apparently either the family or the funeral home had the audacity to bury this person as a man. But okay, so in general, but can you identify a high-profile individual that might fit your template here?
Well, a liberal feminist, Hillary Clinton, but a high individual, like I said, Phil Donahue might be a good one.
Maybe.
He would wear, skirts. He would promote.
How about his wife, Marlo?
All kinds of dresses, and sure, she's a feminist. There's a lot of overlap among all these things, too. I mean, one thing I say on my website is I say feminism is liberalism is socialism. They're really three of a kind. And I make that case on my website.
Where does this passion come from of yours?
It comes from having to listen to so many bad arguments over the years on TV. And, I guess I was always interested in psychology. My undergrad degree is in psychology. And so just watching all of the shows, whether it was Phil Donahue or Oprah or any of those.
What would Oprah be? Which one of those three? She'd be radical, wouldn't she? Yeah,
she'd be friendly toward that, and a liberal feminist, not a socialist, because she likes to make money. She probably has a net wealth of about $2 billion. So.
Yeah. Craig Vos is our guest. His new radio program on the Truth Network 99.3 is Victory Over Socialism, 5:30 in the afternoon on Saturday. Podcast available on your website?
No podcast.
Not yet. Website is Center Right America. centerrightamerica.squarespace.com. How do you have this conversation with a female?
Well, that's why it's a challenge question on my website. I think some men would be in for a surprise if they would have this conversation with women. And, that's why I want to have a radio show and explain this to men, how to have this conversation. So if we ever
because I don't think my wife is a feminist at all. I've never even thought about that. But if I asked her if some women are oppressed in America, she'd say yes. She's the vice president of a huge worldwide company. She's the human resource director. And she sees how women... one of the things that it's called is corporate abortion. Are you familiar with that term?
No.
Corporate abortion, where a woman gets into the climbing of the ladder at a major corporation and is basically told or clearly understands that if you should choose to start a family, that will very seriously hurt your advancement in this company. And they call that corporate abortion because they're told don't have a baby because if you have a family, you're done. You're sidetracked. That's it. My wife really believes in what do you call it when you work from home?
Yeah, just working from home.
Well, but she calls it something like with the computer and everything.
Telecommuting?
Yeah, telecommuting. She thinks women ought to be able to do that, especially young mothers who are home, who with their babies, and they can do wonderful work from their home and still take care of their children.
I think there's some jobs
That's not a feminist, is it?
No, that's fine to do that. But remember, affirmative action is there to help women of all races over men of all races, especially white women. White women are the biggest beneficiaries of affirmative action. So we are actually, we have systematic help in place to help women not hold them back. In fact, corporations compete for friendliest places for women to work. You'll see that on Forbes.com, Fortune.com.
Yeah.
So they actually compete to be friendly toward women.
Craig, let me ask you, would Barbara Streisand fit into that template somewhere? I'm trying to figure where I might put her.
A liberal feminist.
You don't think a socialist feminist?
No, she's rich. I mean, she'd like to raise taxes for sure. But again, there's a lot of overlap, so she'd probably just get away with saying she's a feminist. I'm sure she would.
You got to have a hardcore redistributionist feminist to be the socialist feminist.
Right.
Somebody that's even willing to give up their own wealth.
Yes.
Because usually you've got hypocrisy tied in here. You know, the Ted Kennedys of the world who have a lot of money, but you know,
right.
their mantra is, you know, everything's for the poor, but the reality is all for them.
Well, I only got about 30 seconds, but Bill Gates, is he a feminist?
Yes. I'd say he's a feminist.
And he'd be the socialist, right? No, because he's rich.
Right.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. I can't wait to check out your website. And you can check it out, too, at centerrightamerica.squarespace.com. The show, Saturday, 5:30, Victory Over Socialism, right here on the Truth Network, 99.3. You guys have a fantastic Thanksgiving. I'll be cooking turkey at the church on Thursday morning. Come on and get a free meal if you don't have anybody to spend time with. Until then, God bless you, and I'm thankful for you. Bye-bye.